Mr. King and Kane for coming. And just two little points before we get into the substance. Last night, you may have seen Senator McConnell tried to Rule 14, 18 gotcha amendments. He was trying to say, see, Democrats, you're not going to like 50 votes. I challenged him and asked unanimous consent that we have 50 votes on those 18, plus the Voting Rights Act, the Freedom to Vote Act, and the John Lewis Act, and of course he objected. So we're not afraid of 50 votes. We want 50 votes, and McConnell's gotcha activity didn't quite work. And then this morning I was on the floor and I saw Senator Cornyn with a big sign. It said 94% of the people thought voting was easy in 2020. So I guess Senator Cornyn believes that the big lie, that the election was jaundiced, is false. Because if you say 2020 went well, you're saying two things. You're saying Trump's big lie is wrong, and you're saying that 2020 was fine. Why are legislatures changing it all across the country? Our argument is not that 2020 wasn't a fair election. We believe it was. Our argument is what they're doing now is going to make 2022 a very unfair election. So, we have a revolutionary idea. When you make it easier for people to cast their ballots safely, Americans turn out to vote. That's what our history showed. Of course, it's not what Donald Trump says. He says the election was stolen from him. It wasn't. He lost 7 million votes. He said that there was fraud. But John Cornyn's sign says, oh, no, the election was good in 2020. So he hasn't proven any fraud at all, or any degree of fraud that comes close to the 7 million votes he lost by. Even now, as I said, Republicans are talking about how 94% of Americans said voting was easy in 2020. Great. Let's keep it that way. But why then are Republican state legislatures, like those in Georgia and Texas and a lot of other places, passing laws in 2021 that makes it harder to vote? It's because, frankly, they're simply following Donald Trump's big lie. Republicans talk out of both sides of their mouth. They're saying voting in 2020 was easy, but the Senate cannot act to prevent states from making it harder to vote in 2022 or 2024. That's just lunacy. Republicans are tying themselves in knots, trying to convince Americans the big lie is really what Democrats are doing. That's what McConnell started saying. That's a little standard technique of theirs. They take something like they use dark money and they say Democrats are dark money, which is, ridiculous. We're trying to end dark money in the Freedom to Vote Act. And now he says Democrats have the big lie. That's gaslighting. What McConnell did on the big lie is a classic definition of gaslighting. And, of course, we're not going to stand for it, and we rebut it. Americans are seeing what's happening across the country. They see in states like Georgia it's a crime to give food and water to people waiting in lines at the polls, and Senator Warnock reminded us that in the minority areas the lines are much, much longer than in a lot of the white suburban areas. Americans see states like Texas, Iowa, Montana having reduced polling locations and hours. In Georgia, according to the Atlanta Constitution, listen to this, the number of drop boxes in the 4 large Atlanta counties will drop from 111 to 23. How does that reduce voter fraud? It's ridiculous. We know what they're doing. They're making it harder to vote, particularly for people of color, for young people, for disabled people, for people who live in urban areas. Okay? One of the justifications that they used in Georgia is the boxes are no longer helpful. This ignores the fact that 300,000 voters used them in 2020, 300,000. So we in the Senate are going to pass real solutions. We're going to work to pass real solutions that go to the heart of the problem. The John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act. And every senator is going to have to make a choice, plain and simple, about how to preserve our democratic republic. We had a very sobering, even frightening discussion today with 2 professors from Harvard who wrote, what is it, How Democracies Die, Levitsky and another nice man, Ziblatt? Yes. Ziblatt. And it was sobering. And the Republican Party is moving in that direction right now, at least according to their research, like other parties that have abandoned democracy in other parts of the world. With that, let me call on Senator Stabenow.